Pressure, pressure, pressure. The Chiefs are under pressure for the rest of the season today on Locked On Chiefs.
From the land of the free and the home of the Chiefs, this is the Locked On Chiefs podcast.
And welcome back to another episode of Locked On Chiefs, your podcast from the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Today, we are going to be talking about that sad game in Buffalo. I don't really know how else to say it, right? I mean, that's really how this goes is bad scenario for Kansas City. They should have probably been more in that game. I will say this. I don't think that this is one that they necessarily lost themselves. I think that they were actually beat, which makes me feel just a little bit better about it, especially since it was only a 7-point game. But we will get into that. This is Ryan Tracy from RGR Football and Rogue Analytics. I am Chris Clark from Chiefs Corner. And a little bit later, we're going to be talking about how to recover from this game. We're going to also dip into the trade deadline and the bye week, which is coming up next. But as I said when we started, pressure is building. Pressure is building with this Chiefs team because right now they're in a scenario where they have 4 losses. They are out of the playoffs as it sits right now, headed into week 10. Yes, there's still a lot of football to play, but they're on the outside looking in, and they are going to be under pressure the rest of the season.
Yeah, there's no way around it. My preseason prediction was 13-4. That means they got to run this table. They got to be perfect from here on out for me to be correct. And we know how much we love for me to be correct. Not that that's the end all be all. I think you had them at 12-5. So obviously there's room for another loss there. I think there's room for not only that, but maybe one more loss and still remain a playoff team. I don't think there's any way this team doesn't go to the playoffs. They're too talented for that. They got to get out of their own way, and they got to make sure that whatever this variability is that they continue to display, even though we thought for 3 straight weeks they had that sorted out and they weren't going to be on this roller coaster. They got to get that figured out because the pressure to perform is only going to get worse or at least more so from here as the expectations continue to boil. And honestly, it's not the only time. Pressure is very much part of what happened in this ballgame as we refresh on those stats. It's the fact that Patrick ended up 25% completion rate when pressured. Something that's very abnormal for him. The interception came while he was under pressure. That particular one, he was blitzed. Only 7 snaps of blitz against Patrick Mahomes from the Bills, which is even, as I went and looked back, a little bit less than they normally do. And so it's still about being able to protect. Now we know that Jeffrey Simmons wasn't there. So you have a backup at left tackle. We already knew that. We know that Jawaan Taylor got hurt. He's got the ankle. Andy Reid confirmed that post-game, and we'll see what happens when we get more information here as the follow-up test results. Had a backup there. I'm more concerned about the tackle spot right now going into the bye than I have been, honestly, since prior to the postseason run last year. That's how bad that went from being 2 solid starters to, holy cow, we got one guy, and I'm even considering grabbing Isapole to pull him up.
I'm not sure they have one guy right now. Jalen Moore has taken a step back the past couple of weeks, and I'm not going to say that he can't be a spot starter, but I don't think he can be a full-time starter for any specific length of time. They absolutely need to get Josh Simmons back. We don't know what's going on there. Still haven't got an update on that. There's been reporting out there that he could return during the bye week. We'll see if that ends up being the case. It would be great if he could, but the bigger question is can this Kansas City Chiefs offensive line get healthy during the bye week? Because they're going to be facing the Denver Broncos after the bye week. And the worst part about it is that you would think, okay, well, Denver is not on a bye week, so Kansas City should be well rested. Denver is going to be coming off after playing the week before. Denver plays on Thursday night against the Raiders. I'm not going to call that a bye week, but it's as close to a bye week as you could probably get. And yeah, I understand it's a rivalry game, so there's probably going to be something there, but I can't imagine that the Raiders actually make it a game. But the other part of it is they're going to get 10 days off before they play the Chiefs. And you look at that scenario, that's 2 games in a row where Kansas City is going to be coming in. Well, I guess I can't count that. But the Buffalo game, Buffalo had a whole day's extra rest before the Chiefs, since the Chiefs played on Monday night. I don't know that really mattered that much in this game, but there were situations, and you look at how this game played out, and we're going to talk about the trade deadline in the next segment and what they could possibly do or what they need to do for the trade deadline, but they absolutely did not look like they could get any pressure with their defensive line, and their defensive line, while they got better in the second half against James Cook, couldn't stop him in the first, and that caused issues throughout the entire game. And I just don't know that you have the ability to be as good as the defense as you had been when you're going to be facing good teams if you are going to allow completions to that many tight ends and that many wide receiver. Like, it wasn't even like wide receivers. Like, it was mostly Khalil Shakir. They had 11 people get targeted, I think, for the Bills, and every single one of them had a catch.
They look like the Chiefs, didn't they? That's what that stat tells you right there. And pressure goes both ways. They have to defend the pressure, and we'll have to talk about that because a couple of weeks ago I would have told you it's mostly about the tackles having to face those two speed edges in Cooper and Benito from Denver, but they've got a defensive tackle that's ripping it up now, and he's hitting his stride. And so the interior's got to go. Kingsley Sumatia needs this bye week to make sure that his ankle's good because he's going to have a lot of Zach Allen in his face. There's a lot to come from that.
He's been playing phenomenal.
On retrospect, looking at the rest of the pressure the Chiefs have produced in this ball game. Now, we're not a full 24 hours out from the game yet, but this is still stats that have been collated, and so they could still be updated. But right now, it's 3 pressures from 2 different guys was the top. Chris Jones was not one of them, and a lot of people on Chris Jones this week, fair or otherwise. Some crazy things going on about how to correct that situation. George Karlaftis produced 3. Ashton Gillotte, the rookie who has not been producing a ton of pressure, was the co-leader. That's a problem. When you have Charles Omenihu out there, when you have Mike Dana, who had played too many snaps inside for my liking, but that's still just not enough pressure no matter what. And as we record this now, we still have time for the trade deadline. I'll probably give you a little extra breakdown at the trade deadline if anything happens. But for this, as we release this on Monday evening, you're going to see this on partially Tuesday. The effort is there. If you were going to pick one target, we're going to talk about them coming up. They need to get something done because pressure in both defending it and producing it are job number 1 and 2 for this team going forward.
Yeah, and they absolutely got to get figured it out. They got to get figured out on the defensive tackle position for me, and we're going to be talking about how they can do something during the trade deadline and what is going to be going on during the bye week right after this.
Nobody likes paying rent, but if you must, you might as well get something for it. That's where Built comes in. Built is changing the game by turning your rent payment into real rewards that you can actually use. When you pay rent through Built, you earn flexible points that can be redeemed toward hundreds of hotels and airlines and future rent payment and even a Lyft ride or more. But Built isn't just about the rent. It's about rewarding you for your entire neighborhood, for what you do around it and where you go. Built really, really works. If you're paying rent right now, you might as well make the most for it. Give back to your community, be able to get things done, and make yourself a little bit more out of those dollars that you're already spending. Turn your rent into rewards and start earning points around your neighborhood by going to joinbuilt.com/LockedOnNFL. That's joinbilt.com/LockedOnNFL. Make sure you use that link so they know that we sent you.
Pressure was the story of this game. Kansas City could not get pressure on Josh Allen and were under enough pressure for Patrick Mahomes. Really kind of changed the way he played this game. Didn't even complete 50% of his passes, which normally would make you think that they need to go out and get wide receivers. That isn't really the case this year. I think we would agree that they are deep enough at that position that they should be fine. It's now a question of, are you going to do anything else to improve this roster? I will just throw it out there. Personally, I think they need a defensive tackle, maybe a defensive end. Their defensive line is not going to be good enough to get them back to a Super Bowl, in my opinion. And yeah, I'm saying Super Bowl because I still think they do make the playoffs and they can make a run. But right now it starts and ends with the defensive line for me. I think that they can get it figured out on the offensive line if they get their players back. That's the big question, and you can only have so much depth. So that's part of it.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. And when I look at who's available, rumored to be at least, and at the time of this recording, none of these players have moved, but there's rumor out there. And the common thread through all of the names that I'm about to tell you are that there are cap considerations that have to go in, either in the trade deal itself with the trading team, the current team eating some of that cap, or something else has to be done for most of these players. But I will tell you, number one is to call up an old friend in Mike Borgonzi and try to get Jeff Simmons. Jeffrey Simmons has the fastest sack in the NFL this year at 2.09 seconds. He doesn't do it consistently, and he's not producing as much as he should, to be honest. But that one set alone is something that we talked about. It's not just producing pressure and getting sacks. It's getting them quickly. It's winning early in the down. That's what Chris Jones does for the most part in order to flush quarterbacks to the other players, including George Karlaftis. If there are two guys that have that capability on any given down on the interior of this defense, it makes George Karlaftis better. It makes Ashton Gillotte better. It makes Charles Omenihu better, because then they can't get away with just waiting too long. As I look at the top 20 sacks, fastest sacks in the league this year per Next Gen Stats, the Chiefs have 0 of them, not a 1. Another name on here on the list, Bradley Chubb from Miami. It's about to be a fire sale there. They don't have a GM currently, nor should they, and the head coach should be next out the door, although I don't know what ownership's doing there, so I'm not even going to comment on that. He's also a guy, he's got the second fastest sack this year. Again, not a consistent player, a guy that's moved around a little bit, and quite frankly, I don't even really care for his attitude, but he can and has the ability to produce at times on the field. Do either of those do anything for you?
I would love to have Simmons next to Chris Jones, but the salary cap ramifications of making that move are going to be something that's, I don't know how you juggle that one. I was just looking at the salary cap ramifications of getting Simmons. In 2025, he has a base salary of $17.5 million. I don't know how you make that work unless the Titans are willing to pay all of it up front as a signing bonus and eat the cap. But if you do that, you have to think that they're going to be giving up a very high pick for him. He is guaranteed money in 2026, so you'd have to be on your roster more than likely in 2026. So it's not going to be a rental. So I'd be okay if they gave up a higher pick for him. But at the same time, that's a very difficult situation for it to play out. I think there's another defensive tackle in Tennessee that would be more likely Kansas City's cost-wise, but whether or not he would really fit is the question.
And who are you thinking? Sweat?
Yep.
I agree. And I got
cost-wise.
This cost-wise, yes, because he's still on that rookie contract. But I got to tell you, fit-wise, he is more of honestly a 0 than he is a 1. He's not known for pass rush. And quite frankly, the Chiefs chose his teammate over him when he came out in the draft because of his love of football, dedication team, whatever you want to call it.
Yep.
And I don't know that they're anywhere close to even investing in him at that point. And now they could be signing him right now at this moment. In fact, usually when I say things like this, that's exactly what happens. So welcome to Kansas City, Sweat. But if not, I don't see the fit there as much.
No, and I get it. Like, I'm not saying that it's a great fit. I'm just saying cost-wise, I can't imagine that they're going to be able to do a Simmons type deal just because of the amount of money that he's owed. In Tennessee, would have to be willing to eat all of it to get a high draft pick, and maybe they would, but we'll see. As far as the rest of it is concerned, the rumors have been out there that it's, the Chiefs are wanting an explosive running back. And okay, there's one out there, but are you going to want to give up a 3rd-round pick to go get Breece Hall? And the bigger question, before you even say that, the bigger question is why? Like, you're not going to use him. You're not going to run him 15 times a game. You're not going to run him 20 times.
Right.
He's not going to be a guy that's going to go out there and be your starter because you have Pacheco and you have Kareem Hunt and you have Brashard Smith. You want them all out there on the field at different times. So giving up a 3rd-round pick to me makes no sense, even though would be improving that room because they're not going to use him and he's only going to be a 1-year rental. Or if you try to sign him to a contract extension, it's going to be very hefty. And I don't think they want to invest that kind of money in that kind of scenario.
Well, let's be real. I and the Chiefs have come around to my way of thinking. I wouldn't spend a 3rd-round pick on a draft choice on a rookie running back who has less than 4 years mileage on him. I'm certainly not giving one up for a guy who's been hurt and has the extra mileage and is going to go on to a second contract at the running back position. There's just no way that it happens. What round did they take Isaiah Pacheco in?
7th.
What round did they take Rashard Smith in?
7th.
There's a pattern here, folks. And I know everyone's going to say Kareem Hunt. I get that. They would have done something if they were going to do that. Now, I will say this. I do think they should make an acquisition. I think there are 2 or 3, maybe even 4 practice squad players on other teams that they can go sign away. That's what I would look to do. Fresh legs with speed is what I'm looking for.
The crazy thing to me, though, is they have speed, but they obviously don't believe that he can do anything in this offense or he would have played. They set Elijah Mitchell for Clyde Edwards-Helaire. And I don't know who I saw say it, but one of the national reporters said something about they felt Clyde was a good matchup for Buffalo because of the success that he had in Buffalo or against Buffalo before. I don't understand that. He's a practice squad guy that has never really done much for this roster. And his first run was a yard.
Mm-hmm.
And he came back out and got 5 yards on the next and didn't come back in. Like,
thanks to Kingsley.
I just don't understand it. So
it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. No, and it's not a wise investment. I'm looking at snap counts here. They ran 3.5% of their formations out of 21, where they had 2 backs on the field. So not a big tick, a little bit less than Washington, but below average for what they've done most of the rest of the year.
And don't get me wrong, like I love seeing Rashard Smith on the field with Kareem Hunt. Mm-hmm. I love seeing Kareem Hunt being a lead blocker. Was it Rice's touchdown where Hunt was the lead blocker?
Mm-hmm.
Like I love that play design. Like I understand people are going to say that they need to be using running backs around the ball. No, you don't. You do what's effective. You do what you think is going to work as an offense. And Andy Reid has shown that he thinks that Rashee Rice can be a running back at times. And it doesn't have to be something where he's running the ball all the time, but he's effective enough to where he can hit the hole. And you know that they have different variations that we haven't seen yet that are going to be used in the near future. And this was just one iteration. They've done it a couple of times at this point. I would expect that at some point he's going to have to pitch the ball. I would not be surprised if in the future there's going to be a throw. I know Ryan will hate it, but I think that that's probably something that they've been practicing. Whether or not we see it is a whole other question. But I don't see going out and getting an explosive back for a 3rd round pick. Like if you want to go get an explosive back, maybe throw a 6th or 7th at it. If you can go find somebody that you can get for a 6th or 7th, I wouldn't care. But I can't see you going out and getting a guy like Breece Hall. And that kind of hurts because Breece Hall's from my hometown. Like, I'd love to see him in Kansas City. I'd love to see him play for the Chiefs. But no.
That's just not value. And that's the way that it works. There are a lot of other options at the position, and they do need to do something. That's how they can recover.
Yeah, everybody got to eat. Like, that's the other part of that. Why give up a 3rd? Like, okay, it was different last year when you gave up a pick for DeAndre Hopkins because you didn't have wide receivers.
Right, you needed it.
Right. And I'm not saying that they have running backs that you love. I get that. But there's a couple of things there. It's not just the running backs. It's also the offensive line isn't built to be a specifically run downhill team. Like that's not the way that this offensive line plays. It never has been. And I do think that could come down to coaching as well.
It very well could. It will be part of the equation to recover and stabilize this offense. And we need to explore what that could look like on the backside of this. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel has an offer you don't want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and you're in business. You can get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across their app. It's super simple. And if you know your first one, it helps you get on a roll. Without a doubt, it makes watching football even more exciting when you've got a little something riding on the action, when you're involved. It's not just for the casual fan, but if you love diving into the stats, FanDuel makes that game day experience that much more. You got to get into it. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com or download the FanDuel app today and get started. It's at FanDuel.
So many different things to talk about and discuss, and you know, we look forward. The bye week is coming. Denver's coming right after the bye week. Indianapolis after them. The Cowboys shortly after them. I mean, the Chiefs are going to be going into a tough stretch over the next couple of weeks and a huge test for them coming up. How do they recover from this game against Buffalo and get ready for a stretch of games where they have to basically, I'm not going to say they have to win out, but they have to get close to winning out if they want a chance to win the division. Because right now they're 2 games behind Denver, which means they have to beat them twice. They're 1 game behind the Chargers, and they have they have the ability to beat both those teams and, you know, get in front in the division. But the question is, can anyone else step forward and, you know, get wins against those teams? Because I thought Denver was going to lose on Sunday. I thought the Chargers had a chance at losing on Sunday. Both of them looked beatable. It didn't happen, obviously, but at the same time, I mean, you're sitting here looking at it. I will say this: the Colts don't look as scary as they did a couple weeks ago. You saw that on Sunday. They don't look as good as I thought that they were, but they have to recover. They have to get better. And in my opinion, the first thing that they need to do to recover, they need to get their offensive line fixed, because Patrick Mahomes did not look like Patrick Mahomes. And with the receiving weapons that he has, there's no reason why he should look so out of sorts in any game going forward. And the reality is you're going up against one of the best pass rushing teams in the NFL. The next time you lace up your cleats, you have to be ready for the Denver Broncos in that pass rush.
That's what it comes down to. And you have to have the right game plan there. Johnny Barron is starting to come on as well, a guy that I believe the Denver Broncos drafted specifically to combat Xavier Worthy. We saw Maxwell Harrison run with Xavier tonight. Harrison's got some serious speed too, so does Barron. We're getting into the teams, and you guys heard me. You might have tuned it out, but I told you all summer long after that draft that the Bills and all of the AFC West specifically drafted, signed free agents, and planned around stopping the Kansas City Chiefs. That has been the goal, and we are about to see the rubber hit the road there. To recover, it means you have to have your O-line back and functioning together. And nothing against what Caliendo did. He stepped in when he had to at times, back and forth. Trey came in for Kingsley for a minute. Getting that tackle guard spot solidified, getting Trey an extra week off should get Trey back to close to normal. As I understand, he's around 85%. Some more rest, some stim, et cetera, taking care of himself, treatment should get him close. As I do believe, from what I understand, it is not a structural issue, which is great for a 300-pound man. That's a problem. So
you don't want a structural issue.
Their 2 keys are the tackles. That's who the Denver Broncos are going to send after you, wave after wave after wave after blitz after everything else. And they do have enough linebackers that they can force you to pay attention inside and put your tackles on islands. So it does come down to those tackles. Can Jawaan, with his knee and now the ankle, be able to come back? And where in the world is Josh Simmons? That's the 2 questions that have to be answered.
Yeah, and the crazy thing is week in and week out, you'll see stats, and I wish I could tell you off the top of my head who exactly is putting this out. I'm guessing it's PFF has this, but the Chiefs have both of their tackles on islands like 80, close to 90% of the time. Yeah. And against the Denver Broncos, if you're running out there Jalen Moore and Wanya Morris, Mahomes is going to get killed. You cannot go into that game plan with those 2 as your starting tackles and feel like you're going to be able to put them on an island. Which the bigger problem with that is, yes, you can make adjustments and yes, you can get them help, but that completely changes what you want to do as an offense and changes your offensive game plan. And the craziest part about this game against the Bills is we actually saw some downfield throws that were successful. Mm-hmm. Kansas City couldn't do anything to keep drives going regularly, and that is the problem that they had. That was something that they hadn't struggled with for the past couple of weeks, but they absolutely could not get out of their way and sustain drives in this one.
And unfortunately, that was a team that hadn't been able to produce much pressure. That was like the most that they've gotten to. And it just goes to show that you have to make sure that you're prepared for it all. Now, Can they get Jawaan back? Yes. If Jawan's ankle heals up and he's got that extra time off, I feel like that's okay. I don't think the knee's going to improve, but I think the ankle can. And so you could get him back out there. I disagree with you in that I think Jalen Moore is viable, even though you are right. He has kind of trended down since he began starting at left tackle. On the right-hand side, I think that he can probably provide a little bit more stability because Jawan's been playing with that knee the whole season already. But that it hinges on the rookie being back. And if the rookie is back, even if the rookie's back in the house, we don't know that he's ready to go. We don't know the nature of his delay or what's kept him away from the team. It could be something dramatic. It could not be. We just don't know. But no matter what,
can he go?
I mean, they threw him into the fire, to tell you the truth, starting right away. We didn't expect him to be able to play at first. And now he's got to walk right back into the fire if he does return after the bye, into maybe the best pass rushing front in the league, especially after this last week with Zach Allen really tuning himself up as well.
Yeah, and what did we talk about at the start of the show? Pressure, pressure, pressure. Like, you were in pressure the rest of the season because of what you've done to this point. Because you were 5-4, you will be under pressure the entire rest of the season, having to basically win every single game and having to be close to perfect almost every single game. And I want to be clear. I'm not saying Jalen Moore can't be a tackle. I'm saying he can't be a starting left tackle that plays multiple games for you and you be okay. Like, yes, he can spot start at left tackle. I think he'd be fine at right tackle. I'm not saying he'd be what Jawaan Taylor's been this season. And regardless of what people say, Taylor has been fantastic this season at right tackle. Yes, he's given up a couple of pressures here and there, but his penalties are way down, and he has been playing very well on an island by himself. So not having that at the end of the game with Wanya Morris kind of showed how well Taylor had been playing, because Mahomes got pressured a lot more after Taylor went out. So you have to wonder, how is that going to play out? I agree with you. Getting Simmons back would be huge. But the big question I have there, and the bigger thing with that is he going to be in shape and ready to play, especially against a Denver defensive front that you know is going to be sending everything they can at him?
With speed rushers in particular. And that's what he's built for. His athleticism is what the Chiefs drafted him for, and to be able to combat some of that. So hopefully we'll know more next week. Tomorrow we're going to break it down with Matt Derrick. We'll see what his takeaways are after connecting with the team tonight and tomorrow and continuing. So make sure that you join us there. Then we'll have it throughout the rest of the week, getting ready for what is trade deadline reaction, as well as the rest of the prep for the back half of the regular season that the Chiefs just have made their hill harder to climb.
That's going to be it for us today. Thank you all for listening. We really do appreciate it, and we will talk to you tomorrow.